Football during the holiday season, it's Hard Rock Bet. Not just because they're the presenting sponsor of this podcast, but because they make it easy to bet both before kickoff and between snaps in a few simple taps. I open the app, find a bet I like, and bam, my bet is placed. Sign up today and put a $5 bet on any game. If it wins, you also score $150 in bonus bets. A winning bet plus an extra $150 to bet with. Now that's spreading some holiday cheer. Download the Hard Rock Bet today and make your first deposit. Whether it's a cold morning or a holiday party, I need my wardrobe to work. That's why I'm all about Quince. They make it easy to look sharp, feel good, and find gifts that last. Holiday season, that's important. So from Mongolian cashmere sweaters to Italian wool coats, Quince pieces are crafted from premium materials and built to hold up without the luxury markup. Let's face it, finding a winter coat can be difficult. But not with Quince. They make it easy. They've got plenty of options, and the prices actually make sense. Their outwear lineup is no joke. Down jackets, wool top coats, and leather styles that are built to last. As you get older, you want to level up. Maybe you want to get a good gift for a loved one. That is where they come through. Get your wardrobe sorted and your gift list handled with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/3and-out for free shipping on your order and a 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/3and-out. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/3and-out. What is happening, my people? How are we doing on this beautiful, gorgeous Monday night where the San Francisco 49ers win again for the fifth straight time, clinched the playoff berth earlier this weekend, and now get their 11th win as they blowout, feel strong. It was back and forth game because of their defense, but Purdy looked like Joe Montana out there. Christian McCaffrey had probably his best game of the season. George Kittle. We'll talk all about clearly their path is the offense just completely dominating. And they should get Ricky Pearsall back this week. So we'll have to see on George Kittle going into the Bears game, which is we've been talking about for a while. I was texting a bunch of buddies tonight, before we dive in any football, I need you to subscribe to the page. Make sure you subscribe. A lot of you guys are watching. I see the statistics are not subscribed. Subscribe, like the video, argue down low in the comments, and hope you guys enjoy the content. For those of you that come every single Monday, Sunday, Thursday, throughout the week, we appreciate you, and glad you're here because that was fun. That was a lot of fun in my house. Little on edge early with Phillip Rivers, but we'll talk a lot about Phillip, who listen. To have that much time off and to come back, and I get the 49ers have some issues on defense, but to play like that on Monday Night Football was pretty fun to watch. And clearly the Colts now are done. I mean, they play the Jags, then they play the Texans. Kind of crazy what happened to them because at one point in time, Troy was in a good mood tonight, was like, this looked like a Super Bowl team. And now clearly they're just in a free fall. But at least Rivers, 27 members of his family, get to enjoy it. And I hope they did because that was pretty cool, especially for his high school team. DK Metcalf, news came out today, suspended the rest of the regular season. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Obviously, the back and forth with what he said that they said, what the fan who lawyered up said, but clearly the NFL didn't care about any of it. Suspended, no pay, and CBS came out with a story based on the language of his contract will forfeit $40 million of guaranteed money. He only had 60 when he signed the contract. So you have to wonder, is this a 1 year and done in Pittsburgh? Because potentially the Pittsburgh Steelers can get out of this thing. We'll dive into that. Listen, they got lucky. They just have to beat the Browns, and they're in because that would have cost him the Ravens game, which we thought a couple weeks ago was going to be probably Sunday Night Football, and the winner gets the 4 seed. And then probably the story of the day is that Bill Belichick hired Bobby Petrino to be his offensive coordinator. I mean, you can't even make it up. Bobby Petrino and Bill Belichick, safe to say, it pains me to say this, I wouldn't say I was a Patriot fan, but after a while, you just have to respect what they were doing. I just watched so many of their games. I mean, in the heyday, it was like, he was like the Michael Jordan of short, fat coaches. He was unstoppable. And now what's happening, it's kind of sad. So we'll end with that on this Christmas week. I've gone back and forth. I feel a little guilty because I love on holidays, doing shows, going live, but I do think Christmas we are not gonna go. I was kind of telling myself, God, are you just being lazy? And I keep looking at the schedule. It's like I'm gonna build my Christmas day with my pregnant wife, who is in serious pain right now. I mean, I think we are not that far away from this baby coming out. With Josh Johnson and some guy in the Chiefs, I can't even pronounce his name. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? They are, future partners of ours, so I wanted to support, but I'll probably still end up watching the game. You never know. If something crazy happens, I guess we could go Thursday night. But the plan is, as of Monday, December 22nd, we probably will not be doing something on Christmas night after the stretch of kind of meaningless games. But Saturday, we will have you covered. A lot more action on Saturday. Let's just dive right into the 49er game because to me, the headline of the night was obviously the offense, but specifically the quarterback. And there is never going to be a conversation with Brock Purdy where he just becomes everyone universally agrees. He's going to be a polarizing quarterback, whether he one day wins a Super Bowl, when he has games where he throws a couple interceptions, when he has games when he throws a bunch of touchdowns. But he became the first 49er tonight to throw 5 touchdowns in a game since Steve Young did it back in 1995 against the San Diego Chargers, where I think Jerry had 3, Ricky Waters had 3. I just think this. I was born in 1984. My dad was a diehard 49er fan. I don't remember Joe Montana in his prime, but I love football. I've seen enough highlights and YouTube clips. I grew up on Steve Young, who looked a lot different than Purdy, given that he was a left-handed quarterback. But that's had to, like tonight, I'm not talking about his career. I'm talking about tonight, what peak Joe Montana looked like. I mean, that was a marvelous performance. There was nothing he wasn't doing. I mean, he was in complete control of the football game. And here's the thing. In years past, the one kind of, it wasn't a knock from me because most good players play with other good players. Last time I checked, Peyton Manning was throwing to Marvin Harrison. I'm pretty sure Marvin Harrison's in the Hall of Fame. Tom was throwing to Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman, who was a Super Bowl MVP, and Randy Moss and Wes Welker. Joe Montana threw it to Jerry Rice. I don't know, just the greatest wide receiver of all time. Usually play with good players. But everyone's like, oh, he's playing with Debo. He's playing with Brandon Ayuk. It's like, doesn't get any easier. Well, tonight I looked, it's like DeMarcus Robinson. It's Kendrick Bourne, who didn't even have a home when the season started. Is Jawan Jennings, which most of his career is considered like a third wide receiver. Now, George Kittle, and we'll dive into him in a second, is a Hall of Fame level guy. But the other wide receivers are, again, a lot of Kendrick Bourne, a lot of DeMarcus Robinson, this guy named Sky Moore, and Brock was brilliant. And they're going to need him to be because, defense is going to be a challenge with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa at home, in a leg cast and a knee sleeve. So he has, now, ideally, you don't have to do that, throw 5 touchdowns, but that's as good of a game, trying to remember, as he's ever played. I mean, seriously. Now, I understand, because you'll be like, well, who's he playing? Yeah, he wasn't playing the 85 Bears. Sauce Gardner's on the sideline. Charvarius Ward, his former teammate, is on the sideline. But he made them look like a JV team. And you would think a team that's still fighting for their playoff lives, it was stealing candy from a baby. And some of the passes, guys were wide open. And some of them, I mean, there was a drive where he threw 2 touchdowns on the same drive. The touchdown he threw in the back of the end zone to Tonjes, where he did get both feet in. Kyle Shanahan has a lot of strengths. I mean, he is a brilliant offensive play caller. He's been a fantastic head coach. He's resurrected the 49ers. He's done an excellent job. He could drive some of us nuts at times, but overall, he is a fantastic coach. He is horrendous with challenges. I mean, I haven't watched every single coach challenge every single play of their career, and I'm not even basing it on the numbers. He just has whatever their communication, the guy upstairs. I mean, the challenge he made, I think the Pittman's drop, which was a clear catch, and then he doesn't challenge the touchdown, which even Troy's like, that's in. Now, again, we're sitting on our couch, but they should have a guy who essentially is doing what we're doing, sitting on a couch up in the booth to be like, Kyle, challenge that. Or Kyle, don't challenge that. Whoever that guy is, Kyle needs to fire him because that guy is doing a terrible job. And it cost Purdy, one of the great plays of his career, rolling to his right, hitting the guy, rolling out, especially Jake Tonjes. This is going to be the greatest catch he's ever had. Doesn't even count. But, Kittle was dominant tonight. Christian McCaffrey was dominant tonight, catching the ball. And that saves the 49ers offense because he turns into a wide receiver out of the backfield. Unless you have, Ray Lewis or Patrick Willis in their prime, you're just not going to cover him. And he's so good. His rapport with Brock is excellent. But what a performance. And, you paid a lot of money for this guy. He got the turf toe situation the last couple of weeks, and I get it was the Tennessee Titans, but to go from Tennessee and to roll it right into this game on Monday Night Football on the road with, technically once you're in the playoffs, none of these games are technically must win anymore, though, which I still think is an uphill battle. They do control their own destiny. If they win these next two games, they are the number one overall seed, which would honestly be the craziest football thing I'd ever seen in my life if they were able to accomplish it. Now, I think before we dive into something else from this game, they're getting royally fucked this week. I mean, they played, and listen, I understand they had the last bye week of the season for any NFL teams. They had the latest bye week possible. But the NFL put them on Monday Night Football, which Indianapolis is in the Eastern time zone. I'm pretty sure it's give or take a 4-hour flight from where they fly from San Jose. So by the time that they get home tonight, I don't know, would be 3, 4 in the morning. It's going to be Tuesday. The Chicago Bears played on Saturday. So they get, it's what sometimes Thursday Night Football during the season it happens. But to happen on Christmas week, a time advantage is pretty nuts. Like it is what it is, but it is a massive rest, prep, just freshness advantage for the Bears. Also on Saturday, they played at home. So there was no travel. I mean, the 49er coaches, they're going to land. They're just going to have to go to work. Now, I would imagine they were able to do some prep work today, but you can't go all in because eventually you kind of got to lock back in on this game. And you can't be thinking about the Bears when you want to be fresh about the Colts and, get your thoughts all convoluted, not even knowing what's going on. So there's I've talked to coaches about this. There's kind of a fine balance when you're in that situation, but you got no choice, especially what's, on the line moving forward that you could potentially get another bye. Right? You've already beat Seattle. You know them pretty well. You know Sam Darnold pretty well. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but this Bears is an uncommon opponent. It is a massive advantage for Ben Johnson and his coaching staff. I mean, everyone on the 49ers is probably going to have to pop like 75 milligrams of Adderall tomorrow to even function because, how much you actually sleep on the plane, your adrenaline after a game. You probably fall asleep the last couple hours once you touch down. Even for the players, they'll probably treat this week from a practice standpoint much more like a Thursday night week. And Christian McCaffrey's going to need it. There were so many times tonight, Purdy's probably be pretty fresh. And he looks, and again, I was dubious just because of the extent and the way people talk about these injuries, how they just don't go away. I would say whatever him and Joe Burrow did in terms of the rest, the relaxation, avoiding surgery, Burrow just looked really good. I get it was the Dolphins, but, Purdy looked, like I said, best game of his career. And McCaffrey looks like he's really coming on. But again, he takes a pounding. And Aikman mentioned it tonight. And 49er fans have been saying this forever. It's like, listen, Kyle, we understand this guy's a Hall of Fame level player. But he plays a position that is so physically taxing. And he's a guy that's had injuries. You got to be careful about just leaving him in. There was a point in time in the game, they're up 2 touchdowns. He's getting carries. My 8-month pregnant wife looks at me. She's like, why is he still in the game? I'm like, well, Brian Robinson's got to beg to get a touch. And they mentioned it tonight that Jonathan Taylor leads the league in getting 83% of the snaps for a running back. Number 2 is Christian McCaffrey at 82%. Now, I'm not saying it should be 50-50, but God, I mean, there are times when it's like, okay, we're up 2 touchdowns, we get the ball back. He's not coming back in the game. He's not going to take some meaningless hit. When halfway through most games, he comes to the sideline, you can tell he's just getting obliterated, you know? And it's not like they're running these tosses on every play where he's getting out of bounds. I mean, he's going between the tackles nonstop. And, when it works, when it is effective, when Kyle Shanahan's offense can dominate the line of scrimmage, which he did tonight, Christian McCaffrey had 21 for 117. They ran 31 carries for 145 yards and almost, averaged 4.8 yards a carry. You're not going to stop their offense because their passing game is predicated on the run game. This is not Sean McVay. This is not Andy Reid. This is not Kevin O'Connell that has wet dreams about throwing it 50 times a game. And I got no issue with that. Listen, I like passing the ball as much as the next guy. But Kyle wants to dominate on the ground to then pass. And his passing game, Jay Gruden came on the show, I think, I don't know, within the last year and said, the 49ers, like studying the Shanahan family over the years, but specifically Kyle, like his drop back passing game is not what people go to study. It's the run game to the play action. And then because of Purdy's athleticism, like he can really, really ad lib. And there were a couple times tonight, even Troy said, when he's scrambling to his right, he's got a little gunslinger in him. Like he kind of is tempted to throw it back across his body over the middle of the field, especially in the red zone. And I think like Kyle's in the back of his head, making sure that he doesn't do it because he just threw it away tonight. You can't throw any interceptions on a game when your defense is just giving up first down after first down to Phillip Rivers. But when they're going to run it like this, they're going to be really, really tough to beat. And McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, but really it's just McCaffrey when he's going to play like that, and then what he gives you out of the back or the in the receiving game, he's just an unstoppable force. And George Kittle, who got hurt, I think early in the fourth quarter, might have been late in the third quarter. I really believe this. He is. Hopefully he's fine. I know he rolled his ankle. I'm doing this right after, so I don't get to hear the press conference or anything. But it's not like he had to go to the blue tent or went to the locker room. I think the 49ers are very cautious when they play on artificial turf because over the course, I mean, they've had a million injuries. They'd have injuries, sleep on a sleep number bed, so it doesn't matter where they are. A 49er player can get hurt doing anything at any moment, anytime. But on turf, they've had devastating injuries. And I think they're very, very reluctant in situations. It was still, the game was in the balance, but he never went back in the game. And I just think that when he's been healthy this season and the first game started, he dominated, then he pulled his hamstring and he came back within a couple games up until now. He's as dominant as any player in the league. When you factor in how good he is as a run blocker, I mean, he's kicking out defensive ends. He is leveling linebackers. And in the passing game, he feels as fast. And he had the one, I don't even want to call it a drop. It would have been a tough play for Randy Moss in the corner of the end zone. But it's a play I bet he would say, I should make. And other than that, I mean, high pointing balls, catching balls on the run, running over guys. He's a really special player. And when I think of, the best 49er players of all time, at least, since of the Eddie DeBartolo, Bill Walsh era on, are clearly Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Ronnie Lott, and Steve Young. And then there's a group of a bunch of other guys, right? Joe Staley, Frank Gore, Patrick Willis. Navarro Bowman would have been that. He got injured. I would say Trent Williams, clearly, the moment he got there, he's going to go down as a Hall of Famer and has been a dominant player, but for 49ers. I think George Kittle's right there on that list. He might be the defining player because he's been here the entire time for Kyle. Him or Fred. Fred too. I forgot about him because he's injured. But he's just such a unique player. You just don't see that often. Like you could tell after the game, he went up to Warren. I'm sure he talked to him at tight end university. Listen, Warren tries as a blocker. He's not bad, but if he's going to have a great career, he's going to be dominant catching the football because of his height, because of his ball skills. I mean, he's a really, really talented player. There aren't as many guys anymore. And there used to be more in the NFL because it used to be more of a run-heavy league. So many teams in college ran quote-unquote pro-style offenses. It's why Iowa produces so many physical tight ends because you got to put your hand in the dirt and you got to block. If you're going to get on the field, you can't just be, and there's nothing wrong with it, the way the game is played now, but a lot of these guys are essentially slot receivers. And you could argue they're unstoppable slot receivers because they're 6'3" to 6'5". They all run 4.5s, and they have ball skills like a wide receiver. Who's the 49ers have a really good young slot corner, Upton Stout. I think he weighs like 160 pounds. You know, so like what's you can't put Upton Stout on Tyler Warren. It's not even the math doesn't math. It's like, in basketball when all of a sudden you look and Chris Paul's guarding Kevin Garnett or Anthony Davis. It's like, well, this is not going to work. And I think George is so special that way just because he does it all. And it's a breed of player that just doesn't really do that anymore. You look at the Bears drafting Loveland, again, freak talent, elite ball skills, excellent athlete. Like he wouldn't have a chance on God's green earth to even hold Myles Garrett for a millisecond. It just wouldn't even be possible, and that's where George really separates himself. So I just think the 49ers are very, very dependent on him being healthy with this team because they're an offensive team. I mean, we'll get into Phillip Rivers here in a second, but their defense is just, I think the sad part is if Fred and Nick would not have had season-ending injuries and been on this team the entire time, I think they would have been the Super Bowl favorites in the NFC. Now, they still would have had some flaws on defense, but I think those guys would have made up for so much. You could argue if just Fred was on this team, I would be like, yeah, they can win the NFC. But it is really difficult when it's just backups everywhere and a pass rush that really struggles to get home against a team tonight that was running out a bunch of backup offensive linemen. They play really hard, and Saleh's done an excellent job. But there is just no replacing those two players, and specifically Fred, because I think it's sad because this offense, the way they're playing right now, especially assuming Ricky Pearsall will come back, I do think is as good as any in the NFC. Ate a little too many Shake Shack fries here tonight, but just a fantastic win for the 49ers, a fantastic season, and it is absolutely insane. Honestly, it's a testament to both these teams. The Bears are a little different, but like if I would have told you 2 months ago that going to this game, that both these teams, especially after the Niners lost Fred and Nick Bosa, that they would already clinched and both these teams would have a chance to potentially be the number 1 overall seed, you would be like, are you on crack cocaine? What are you talking about? So Sunday Night Football, Bears 49ers, just a fantastic matchup. Now, like I said, the rest advantage is huge. I do think that the 49ers are just not really going to be able to practice much this week. Going to be big for them is, does Pearsall come back and even makes their offense more explosive? What is George's status? And the other thing with the 49ers, they're unlike any other team. You can just come out of a game and all of a sudden it's like, so-and-so pulled hammy. So-and-so is just, he's going to be day to day or week to week. You're like, what? He just played 60 snaps. He just made the D winners. Had a great interception against Phillip Rivers. It's like, yeah, he tweaked his hamstring. When? I don't know. Maybe walking back to the locker room. It happens all the time. So just because you cut him out of a game on the 49ers, excelling, playing, making plays, does not mean that you will be on the practice field in 2 days for them on a Wednesday. That no team can all of a sudden add guys to an injury report. I mean, they add guys to their injury report during the weeks of practice. So you just got to keep your fingers crossed if you're them, because they don't have many guys to lose. And the D Winners interception was a pretty cool moment. For a split second, watching that 53 run, it reminded me of Navarro Bowman, which made me a little nostalgic because, God, I love Navarro Bowman. He's actually coaching with Jim Harbaugh down with the Chargers. I think he's like an assistant linebacker coach, so that's cool. But fantastic win. The Indianapolis Colts. I mean, it's really a tale of the two sides of the ball. I think what Phillip Rivers did tonight was exceptional. I mean, I was blown away. I thought he was. If you said, John, what grade would you give him? Like A, maybe just because of the pick six, A minus. But at that point in time, you're down a couple scores. You kind of have to force it. It's why he's thrown a lot of interceptions over the course of his career with the Chargers. But 23 of 35 for 277 yards. I mean, the first couple drives of the game, his first drive of the game, he threw for 70 yards. I said this all week, and I get it. Like, the Colts have really good wide receivers, right? Pierce is stud. Downs is good. I've liked Pittman since he was at college at USC. Warren is probably one of the best young, skill guys, tight end wide receivers in the NFL. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, they showed the statistics during the game. Running the ball has been a challenge since their quarterback position has kind of fallen apart. But he still had what? He had 3 catches for 33 yards. Like, he's such an all-around player. I just don't think you can ask much more. And I get the 49ers defense isn't great, but the understanding of the offense, the audio they had in the Monday Night Football game with, I don't know if the mic's close, maybe it has to do with the dome setting in Indianapolis, how clear you could hear him audibling at the line, which I would imagine they're going to have to change all their calls next week for the Jags, because you can't tell me that the Jags defensive coaches, every time the TV copy, you're going to go through that, write down what he said, and then match it up with the play. So they're going to have to change the calls. But his control, understanding of the offense, the one play at the end of the first half that he misses to Warren because he doesn't step up. I thought he was brilliant tonight. I mean, when you factor in that he's 44, 45 years old, he hasn't played in 5 years. I mean, I feel at minimum he's better than, I'm not talking about the injured guys. I'm talking about the starters at the beginning. Like, Tua makes $50 million. Phillip Rivers in a different universe than Tua as a player. Is it even close? I mean, I'm dead serious. And I'm not picking on Tua here, but I'm just thinking of quarterbacks throughout the NFL that it's like, he's better than that guy. Like, he's just a better player than starters in the NFL at 44, 45 years old. And the other thing that brings me joy is I just imagine Brady and Peyton with kind of a huge smile / jealousy watching him play. Like, I want to do that. Like, could I still do that? I mean, I can't even imagine how many quarterbacks around the NFL that are, I would say, early 40s to 50 years old, that maybe go out in their backyard during Christmas and throw a little with their son and go, I think I could still do it. I think I could still, warm this thing up. I think I still got a few more bullets in the gun, because he can't move. And even the night he threw the one completion when he scrambled to his left, but his anticipation, and part of it is unique situation that he's been calling this offense. So as the play caller of the offense, which he's already been in before as a player, his understanding of the routes are just no different than it would have been if he'd been playing in it his whole time. But it's another thing to just go out there. Even my wife looks at me, she's like, has he been like training for this? I'm like, how could he? He's been coaching high school. Like, I'm sure he's going on the elliptical. I'm sure he's getting some pumps in throughout the week, but and probably throwing at practice a little bit. But is he putting in the work that he would have done 7-8 years ago preparing for training camp? There's zero chance. I mean, none. And obviously, he's put on a little weight. Maybe you could argue his arm's a little fresher because of that. I truly thought that's these 2 weeks, but specifically tonight on Monday Night Football with his family. There was that visual after the game of John Lynch, and they showed that video that Lynch, who I guess knocked Drew Brees and hurt his shoulder back in 2005, which was the reason that Phillip Rivers came in and obviously never relinquished that spot until he went to the Colts in 2020. So think about it. John Lynch knocked out Drew Brees in that game, playing for Denver, who Mike Shanahan was his coach. Phillip Rivers comes into that game. Drew Brees' career with the Chargers ends. Obviously, the domino effect of him getting denied in Miami by Danny Cannell's dad, who says his shoulder's fucked up. Nick Saban doesn't sign him. He goes to the Saints with Sean Payton. I mean, some crazy butterfly effects there. But you could tell with John Lynch standing there, who is just, I mean, talk about a guy that just loves football, like loves the grit and the mud of it, like the shit that most people like just want to play the games. John Lynch likes all the other stuff. And you could tell the reverence and just the admiration he had for the competitor in this old grizzled gunslinger that just comes out of nowhere, gets his family 5 more years of health insurance on the NFL's dime, and just throws for almost 300 yards against Robert Saleh, who everyone's tweeting, everyone's writing, is like a lock to become a head coach. And I get it. He's got some random guys out there, but Rivers like boom, 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 boom. It's like, this is fucking awesome. Like, I'm rooting for the Niners. I bet on them. I root for them naturally. And I was just like, hell yeah. I was honestly, and I got a text from a Niner buddy that was like, Rivers deserved better when he threw that pick six. And I was like, I agree. Like, I wish that wouldn't have happened because it kind of puts a stain on a night that was really good. And 100% not his fault. I mean, the defense, Purdy literally looked like Joe Montana tonight. And Demarcus Robinson and Juwan Jennings look like Jerry Rice and John Taylor. They embarrassed that unit. Lou Anarumo, who I've always liked, last year, rough year in Cincinnati, it's kind of happening again. And they got shredded. So what's he supposed to do? I mean, at one point in time, I look up, it's like they got 20 points midway through the third quarter. You could not have asked for more than that. I mean, part of the reason I took the 49ers was because I was like, I think they're going to get to like 25, 26 points. It's like, I don't think Rivers got more than 17 in him. And then you look up, it's 31-20 midway through the third quarter. You just can't. It's 34-27. From a 44-year-old, technically off the sideline in Hoover, Alabama, or Tuscaloosa, wherever he's coaching down there. Fairhope, Alabama, I think, actually. Home of Phil Savage, former Cleveland Browns GM. That was really fun. The Chargers' downfall, clearly, whole thing's kind of falling apart, which is sad. You know, you got Carly Ursay on the sideline taking notes, not really sure what she's writing. You know, everyone was, you know, went pretty viral. Like, everyone should follow her lead. Like, her taking notes, her not taking, none of that means anything. You either can tackle, you either can score touchdowns, you either can get off the field on third down, or you can't. It's all on the coach on game day. Like, what are we talking about? And I'm not trying to take shots at her, but it's like the reason the Colts fell apart is their quarterback position fell apart until Rivers showed up, and then their defense fell apart. So this is a team that is just your classic, like, complete free fall. But like we've been saying forever, they do have really good players. Now, defensively, I mean, you could argue they're best defensive players on the sideline. And I think this also speaks to they thought they were really close. And you could make the argument that at the time they made it, okay, I understand. But as any Giants fan knows, and as my producer Shane, who's a big Giants fan, told me, at the end of the day, they went all in with Daniel Jones as their quarterback. Like, I know he was having a good first half of the year, but he has a long resume. Like, he's been doing this for a while. And you trusted that? Like, that's what you were trusting? Right? It's one thing if, like, hey, you know, Amazon stock's down. It's like, yeah, feel pretty confident about it. I had about 7 boxes come to my house just today. Like, if it's down a little bit, I promise you, it ain't going away. Invested in Daniel Jones, like, it's like, okay, Patrick Mahomes had a bad year. I feel pretty confident he'll bounce back, right? Lamar Jackson, rough year. Like, I'd feel pretty confident next year. Okay, totally. Daniel Jones. So you put all your chips in the middle of the table. Because, listen, guys get hurt. There's nothing you can do about it. Right? The Packers weren't wrong for investing in Micah Parsons. That's just an unlucky break. But I think, as we saw, they were truly a player away. Were the Colts a player away? And I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback. You can go back, and I'm not always right. I say some dumb shit. Some of my takes are just wrong, right? But at the time, I said, this seems crazy to me, right? If you are a player away, it's like, you get Myles Garrett, you get Max Crosby. No, you got a corner who, like, you know, has been a little hit or miss lately, but even that, who's under a huge contract, but you gave up 2 first-round picks? Like, was that really his value? You couldn't have got him for like a 1 and like a 3? Like, that was the player you're going all in on? Based on your team? Like, you felt good enough with your team and Daniel Jones, who it's not like you'd had for 3 years. He just got there. You're going all in on a quarterback that you gave a 1-year, $14 million contract to? It was, for a guy whose career was defined, I would say, by being pretty conservative. Like, when the Rams do stuff, They haven't lately because they've been drafting well. But you go, yeah, they can be kind of gunslingers with the F them picks. They're not afraid to play that game, right? But when Chris Ballard, who historically kind of slow and steady, wins the race, now it didn't work. And then all of a sudden he takes Anthony Richardson and blows up in his face, which was a pretty crazy move at the time, given that Anthony Richardson had started 13 games in college. And a lot of them didn't even go that well, but they were betting on the talent or whatever, and it blew up in their face. And then they found the fill-in guy, and it was going well. But the fill-in guy's resume was not exactly like, well, two-time Pro Bowler, really good player, just kind of fell on hard times. That was not the case. Like his best season, he threw, I think, 15 or 20 touchdowns the year they went 9-8 for the Giants. So it's not like, well, he has 240 touchdown seasons. Now, he's a likable guy. He's smart. He says the right things. He looks the part. He's athletic, pretty good arm. But man, that was risky. And then clearly the worst case scenario happens. He breaks his leg, tears his Achilles. Sauce gets injured. You don't have any choice but to call a 44-year-old guy who then actually plays well, and your defense just crumbles right in front of your face. Makes Brock Purdy, who is a really good player, look like Joe Montana. If Brock Purdy played like that most games, he would be the best player in the league. And you're at home, right? You're at home, place is loud, you score on the first drive, and then you just get eviscerated. They showed the punter for the 49ers, who hasn't even, I think Troy said hasn't punted so far, and part of it's they had a bye, but has not punted in December. It's one thing when you're playing the Titans, who up until they played the Chiefs, four-string quarterback, was competing to have the number one pick again in the draft. So it's rough if you're the Colts. Plus, then you look and you go, well, what's it like big picture? Well, the Jags look like they got a star coach. And the Jags have Trevor Lawrence now playing like Clemson Trevor Lawrence that made Dabo Sweeney a guy worth $10 million a year. And they have a bunch of other good players on the team because they've been drafting high for years. So they have a good nucleus of high-end players. And they also have a guy that they made a big trade for that's not even playing right now, and they're competing to be like the 1 or 2 seed. So if Travis Hunter comes back, big picture, they should be better, especially if they just pick a position, right? Well, what about the Texans? Well, they just, Belichick missed on a lot of different coaches and executives over the years. One guy he didn't was Nick Caserio. Nick Caserio's pretty damn good. Oh, yeah, and he finally, after 3 tries, got it right with DeMeco Ryans. So they got a really good GM and coach combo with CJ Stroud. They got a nucleus of guys. Derek Stingley, they're really good. They're not going anywhere. Nico Collins under contract. They have the Washington Commanders 2nd-round pick. I would say it's a pretty big problem. Yeah, the Titans suck. They got problems. As someone, let's just say that might know a thing or two, said it's hard to even describe how big of an idiot their owner is. He's comparing to another owner, might give it away, so I can't even say it because someone in the league. But the Titans got problems, right? Even though they just had a nice win, and Cam Ward actually had a beautiful scramble pass that was pretty sweet, actually. But man, I just think if you're a Colts fan, you go, what happened? How did this happen? We were just felt so close. And then we felt like we skipped a step. It's like, are we the best team in the league? And then it felt like someone took dynamite and wrapped it around our entire franchise and blew it up. and now we're just royally screwed, which sucks. So congrats to the 49ers, who are a couple wins away now from being the number 1 seed, which I let me state on the record, I think is unlikely. And the Colts, who are probably going to lose out and be, they'd be an 8-9. What's their record right now? 8-7. So yeah, they're 8-7. My prediction right now would be they go 8-9, which the Jags game, that's a problem. And at the Texans, especially if the Texans are playing for something in that game, is going to be a major issue. Okay, a couple quick things before we get out of here. DK Metcalf. Obviously, the video where he grabs the dude's hair, swings, misses, doesn't connect, goes viral. Last night, Ocho Cinco says the guy called him an N-bomb, which you're like, damn, but no, should blast him. The video goes viral of the fan calling him by, as he said, his government name, and no racial slurs there. The guy lawyers up, defending himself. It's like, okay, there's a lot going on here. No one knows beside those two what was actually said. But the moment you saw that video, my first take was he's going to get in trouble. And every former player that's on TV is like, that can't happen. You can't do it. And then today, he gets suspended for 2 games without pay. And I think it's Jonathan Jones of CBS tweeted out that there was a clause in his contract that he misses any time for suspension, it voids guarantees and up to $40 million in guarantees. You went, holy shit. That is one expensive missed punch. Now, there was a story that, again, like his agent clearly was putting stuff out that he had gone to Seattle last year when they had gone to Detroit and pointed this fan. I don't know, this some season ticket holder that's just heckling everybody. But I Googled then his contract situation. When they traded for him, they gave him like $130 million and they guaranteed like $60+ million. It was essentially the way it was written, a 2-year deal. I think you have to ask yourself, is DK Metcalf on the Pittsburgh Steelers next year? And he's had some moments this year, and he's also been in MIA. And I thought at the time, the trade was nuts. You're not a wide receiver away. I get you have some wide receiver needs, but to trade for this guy who Seattle, how about Seattle's got a little Billy Bean quality to him? If Sam Presti, if they call you and go, hey, are you interested in DK for your second round pick 50? I say no, right? Say no. Yeah, we like him, but we're not interested. Oh, yeah. No, we actually are interested. We'll make him one of the higher paid guys in the league. It was pretty nuts. It really was. And they got very lucky winning that Lions game, which they deserved to win. And I said last night, the play that was made at the goal line was the overreaction by people with the Lions about the pass interference. Like, give me a break. He did not score a touchdown. Clearly they were pulling up. He had been pushed back like 5 or 6 yards before they both let go and he throws it to Goff. Game's over. But if they would have lost or they were in a position where week 18 against the Ravens would have mattered, and still could if they blow it to the, blow the game coming up to Cleveland, which you never really know. I do think losing the Junkins, the Ohio State, I think Ole Miss would be like, he was our guy first. He was the SEC Rookie of the Year 3 years ago. Absolute monster. Who knows? Maybe if Lane has him last year as their running back and he never goes to Ohio State, instead of going 9-3, maybe they're 10-2 or 11-1 and they're in the playoffs. But I guess we'll never know. And maybe Lane's still the coach of Ole Miss as a back-to-back playoff coach. Maybe not. I don't know. But I just think this is the type of stuff that, at the end of the day, people get injured, right? We saw it tonight. Daniel Jones, Fred Warner. I'm not comparing those two players, but I'm just saying neither are available. Nick, nothing you can do. You pay a guy a lot of money. It is what it is. Guys break legs, tear Achilles, right? Tear ACLs. It sucks, but it's part of the business. There's another thing when stuff like that happens, and you fuck everyone on your team. And we'll see. I think this amps up the pressure. And again, Lamar Jackson is injured. Harbaugh says he has a bad back contusion day to day. The problem is for them, they're playing the Packers, and they got to win if you assume that the Steelers are going to win, against the Browns. But or they don't have a choice. I mean, they just have to win to kind of hold serve for the game week 18 to matter. This is a situation that my first reaction goes, I can see DK not on the team next year. I really could. And this is one of those situations. It'll be interesting what Tomlin says on Wednesday. But, put this team who's battled back and is really playing well, right? They put themselves in a position to be like an 11-win team. And honestly, for the first time in years, have a little positive momentum going into the playoffs. The last couple of years, we were all out on them, right? Especially last year, the way they lost to the Bengals at the end of the season. Like, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell against the Ravens in the first round. And they didn't. They lose by 14 points, just like the previous year against the Bills, lose by double digits. And this year, okay. And I'm even coming around. It's I could see them beating the Chargers. I could see them competing in the first round. I thought it was inconceivable the last couple of years of them winning a first round game. I don't think that this year. But this situation with DK, it's man, there's just always something with this team. It's not, I'm not putting this on Tomlin necessarily, but like you got rid of George Pickens because he was driving you nuts, which, listen, only a coach, a front office, a coordinator, like they know their players so much better than us fans, even us people that like text with people on the team, like finding out. Like you're living with him every day. He was clearly driving them nuts. George needed a fresh start, and it worked out best for both parties. But then to turn around and get straight into business with DK was pretty risky, right? He had been kind of a roller coaster the last couple of years for Seattle. And John Schneider has punted on a couple roller coasters and worked out pretty well. Russell, I'm not comparing Russell Wilson to DK of being a roller coaster, but just it was a lot for them, right? The ego, the all about Russ, clearly behind the scenes, it was like, we want out of this business. And John Schneider said that about DK. We want out of this business. Coward talked about this last night. Like, yeah, I talked to people around the Rams. They're like, who could better get his shit together? We don't want to be fucking talking about streamers and a bunch of bullshit, right? Just like, don't be a problem. Now, the problem with Puka is he's so productive that it's like, we don't really have a choice. He's kind of got us by the balls if he wants to be a pain. Antonio Brown was like that for a long time with the Steelers. It's like, hey, homie, I'm catching 120 balls and 1,800 yards and 17 touchdowns a year. What are you going to do to me? And for the most part, their answer is going to be nothing, right? But DK's not good enough to do that, right? And that's why Seattle's like, we're out. We don't even have like, we got JSN who's on the team, but like we don't really have like a fill-in to be a dominant outside guy. So they signed Cooper Kupp and they've kind of piecemealed it together. Let's face it, they feel like a wide receiver away, but they're like, we're not giving that guy a third contract. Because again, we talk a lot about the people, and it is a people business. It's also a business where you invest a lot into individuals, right? The 49ers have paid George Kittle a lot of money. And guess what? They have never regretted a penny they've sent his way. They've never regretted a penny they've sent Trent Williams or Fred Warner or Brock Purdy this year. You invest in people. You know, listen, TJ Watt, you would say at points over the last couple of years like to be a little more productive, but the Steelers never regret paying him. They've never regretted a penny they've given Cam Hayward, right? They've never regretted a penny that they've given Freiermuth. So it's like you want to invest in people that you can trust, that you can go to war with, that are reliable. That's what this business is. And, you know, DK's kind of proven like he's not always the most reliable guy. And now we'll see. I mean, if who knows, if somehow they screw up, and listen, weird things happen in the NFL. Weird things do. I wouldn't just, this definitely isn't going to be one of my locks of the week, Cleveland against the Steelers. But very, very expensive suspension. And last but not least, Bill Belichick hired Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator. That might be the funniest shit to ever happen. I mean, I can't forever. Think about the last 10 years of Belichick's career. He would only hire guys that started as like interns, that started at the lowest end of the totem pole for him. I mean, by the end, once Josh McDaniels left, it was like Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running his offense. It's like Matt Patricia's a defensive coordinator. What do you do? But he didn't trust anybody. Then he goes to college, and let's face it, he doesn't really know anybody. Like Urban Meyer's retired. Chip Kelly, that was his buddy, but you know maybe they weren't going to pay him enough. You know, Chip's getting paid $12 million to not work. Does he want to get involved with something that's not going to look very good? I mean, on a serious note, if North Carolina football was a stock, I think everyone with a brain would short the living hell out of it. This thing feels as likely to work as like the Jets and their quarterback situation year in, year out. You're like, that ain't going to work. No, nope. Right? We all know those couples that are like, this thing is destined to blow up. And that's what this thing feels like. I mean, Belichick with his 25-year-old girlfriend. You got Petrino, who had one of the most historic pictures in the history of the internet when he fell off that motorcycle, sleeping with the strength coach's wife, who was also the volleyball coach, and you put these two guys together. And listen, Belichick's kind of dependent on him, right? We talk about leverage and people have over you, right? Like Belichick needs Bobby Petrino. Belichick can't coach the offense. Belichick's clearly not great at evaluating the quarterback. Belichick's not picking great wide receivers. I mean, look at the little quarterback they signed this year from South Alabama. He's terrible. And my guy Jackson told me right before we hopped on that I guess they announced the last couple of days he's returning. So I just think that this situation, it's more likely that there is some crazy article in The Athletic when people are fired at the end of the year, then all of a sudden they're competing for the ACC championship at the end of October. Now, the memes today of the motorcycles and Belichick riding in the little side seat, I can't tell you how many people in the NFL forwarded me those pictures. The likelihood that I would have told somebody 5 years ago that Bill Belichick is going to be coaching in college at, I mean, a cool school, but not a football school, and Bobby Petrino is going to be his offensive coordinator, there wouldn't have been a soul on this planet who would have believed you. But that's where we're at. And this gets back to the Pete Carroll thing. I get loving to work. I've always hated the word retirement. It kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. And I love sitting around watching games. But like, I like doing stuff. I like having some purpose in my life. So I get these guys who feel like they've mastered their profession and want to keep working. But I also can't imagine being in my mid-70s, accomplished what they've accomplished financially, right? And being just so dead set on refusing to kind of wave the white flag. Right? Hell, I could be a consultant. I could still be around. You could do TV. Pete could have done any Fox studio TV he wanted. Belichick had a media career, but they just refused to not want to coach. And both of them are great examples of like, listen, this is going to be a tiny, tiny little footnote on their career resumes, but it's pretty embarrassing. I mean, it really is. Pete against the Texans wasn't, especially someone that had the Texans minus 14.5. But the aggregate of a season and what is happening at North Carolina with Bobby Petrino. You hired Bobby Petrino? I mean, what are we how did that happen? Even last year, it's like he just kept Freddie Kitchens. The crazy part about Belichick, it feels like he doesn't, for this guy that's like this coaching guru, like loves the coaching profession. Does he not have that many friends? Like, seriously, like for a guy that has coached since 1975, it doesn't feel like he's got this crazy Rolodex. You know, Nick Saban coached with Bill in the early 90s. And once Nick got to college, right, he clearly created like Muschamp and Kirby Smart. But then, like, as offensive coordinators left and he lost coaches, I don't know if it was Jimmy Sexton helping him out, whether he's a great, like, scout evaluator of, like, scouring the internet. I don't know what he's doing, but he was always just Sark, Lane, Mario, Tosh. I mean, he's just fucking finding guys all over the place. Have, like, quality control guys like Dan Lanning. It's like, what? Belichick's like, Bobby Petrino. It's like, what? How? What? I'm seriously, it's so funny, but at the same time, it's extremely sad. It really is. And I think both those guys are great examples of like, there comes a time in all of our professional lives, and I'm sure it will happen to me one day. It'll happen to you too, whatever industry you're working. Even if you are one of, if not the most successful guy in your field, where it's just like, it's time. And they say, and I've been a king of this at parties my entire life. I've never been a late night guy, not a drug guy. Like I'm king of the Irish goodbye. You'll look around and I will just be gone. I will never, ever be the last guy at the party. Hell, I'm never the last like 50% of the guys at the party. I'm out. And, you know, Bill Walsh made a career of this as an executive. And then Belichick copied him. Get rid of a guy a year too early instead of a year too late. Yet he's treating his career completely different. He stayed like 4 years too late. Like, Bill, what are you doing this for? To try to show off to Jordan Hudson? Now you bring Bobby Petrino in your office. Who are you going to hire next? Sharon Moore? Like, is Hudson safe? I mean, you better keep tabs on her because Bobby's going to be all over Jordan. So, yeah, we'll end on that. So, Belichick, Bobby Petrino, have a great night.